And you're welcome back to the news at 10, coming to you live from Abuja. To education now. For the first time in 30 years, the University of Port Harcourt is wearing a new look. This is part of moves to ensure that universities across the country are up to international standards. The chairman of the Implementation Monitoring Committee on Needs Assessment Intervention Fund, Professor Kimse Okoko, revealed this during the handover of a newly renovated infrastructure to the University of Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Our correspondent Emmanuel Erei reports.
According to Times Higher Education World University Rankings 2015-2016, out of 800 universities ranked, one Nigerian university ranked 601st, 200 steps lower than a university in Uganda, based on quality of infrastructure and other educational instruments. Following the agitations of the Academic Staff Union of Universities to raise the standard of Nigerian universities to acceptable standards, which culminated in the 2009 Needs Agreement,
further steps to stem the ugly tide of dilapidated facilities for which
representatives of the Federal Ministry of Education, principal officers of the University of Port Harcourt gather here for the handover of newly renovated hostels and other projects to the university. Representing the Minister of Education, the chairman of the Implementation Monitoring Committee says government is embarking on infrastructure development in all Nigerian universities.
With this new development, you can see that more hostels are being built on all the Nigerian campuses, including state universities. And I'm hoping that by 2018, at the end of this first phase, you would have seen many more hostels in all the universities.
For the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt, achieving better and more accommodation facilities is vital.
the hostels are short in supply. Our belief is that by God's grace, when we go through with this assessment and this inspection they are doing, our hope is that NEEDS and indeed TED Fund will give us more allocation for us to build more hostels.
Some students commend the new development.
In the hostel is more safer to help your education, because mostly I read in the night. I don't know about other people. So living in the hostel, you can leave your hostel at night, come to the lecture hall, you read and go back. It's safer.
As the federal government continues to embark on the development of infrastructure in Nigerian universities, for some, this may be a signal of the improvement of the fortunes of the nation's tertiary institutions. Emmanuel Erei, Channels Television News.
And that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Linda. Now, $10 billion investment is what is required yearly over the next 5 years to stabilize Nigeria's oil and gas industry, according to the Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Ibe Kachukwu. He was speaking at the Oil and Gas Conference in Abuja, where he explained that ending importation of petroleum products, addressing gas flare, and closing down policy gaps are some areas that require persistent attention. Also, the Chief Executive Officer of Marine Platforms, a Deepwater Solutions and Services firm, Taufik Adegbite, proposed a policy integration and strategy unit to cut production costs, conserve resources, and multiply utilization of assets in the industry.
This is the 16th edition of the Nigeria Oil and Gas Conference and Exhibition, where key players and stakeholders in the private and public sectors are converged to examine pressing issues in the industry and brainstorm strategies to reform and reposition the oil and gas sector.
Trying to restore stability to the market.
Calling for a sense of urgency in reforms in the industry, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources says $10 billion investment yearly for 5 years will tackle most of the challenges faced by the industry.
This is going to be a time where our skills for negotiation, our skills for relationship building and for investment attraction have got to be at the uppermost level. Over the next 4 5 years, we'll have to find a way of bringing into this country an average of about $10 billion worth of investment every year on just share infrastructure.
Top on the agenda at this conference and exhibition are issues such as boosting refineries to at least 90% functionality and quitting importation of petroleum products, as well as bridging policy and legislation gaps. The Chief Executive Officer of Marine Platforms Limited, a non-oil service company that provides subsea and deep-water solutions and services with high-level local content, says cost reduction, conservation of resources and multiple utilization are possible through policy integration.
I've been an advocate of what we should call a policy integration and strategy unit. If such can even be set up at presidential level, such that those linkages will be done, we will not be repeating resources, costs will be reduced, and of course, we'll be able to have multiple utilization of our rare assets.
Mr. Adebite says policy integration must be encouraged at all levels. A strategy, he says, will boost Nigeria's oil and gas developmental reformation. Omelogo, Nadi Channels Television News.
What is left for the Peace Corps of Nigeria to commence full operation is for the document setting it up to be signed into law. At the opening ceremony of the Peace Corps headquarters in Abuja, the National Commandant of the Corps, Mr. Dixon Ako, and guests from the National Assembly agreed that if the Nigeria Peace Corps bill, which has been passed by both houses of the National Assembly, becomes law, it will empower youth development in the country.
Members of staff, guests and other well-wishers at the unveiling of the new headquarters office complex of the Peace Corps of Nigeria in Abuja.
Lovely anthem.
According to the pioneer founder and national commandant of the Peace Corps, Mr. Dixon Ako, this building provides a more convenient working environment.
Good office environment is a necessary condition to motivate staff of any organization for better and more efficient service delivery. Consequently, we are committed to continually improving the working conditions in our offices as well as provision of essential tools and equipment to facilitate effective and efficient delivery on our mandate.
With this ceremonial hoisting of the service flag, which connotes the full possession of the building, it's straight to the unveiling and inspection by guests.
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
I particularly congratulate you for the recent smooth passage of the Peace Corps of Nigerian Bill by the National Assembly. And I have no doubt that this shall reinvent your wholehearted commitment towards imparting high sense of reorientation and grassroots sensitization and mobilization of our youth.
I know that immediately the president comes back, he will assent to it, but if he's not back on time, I will have an acting president who is already assenting to bills, and this bill will not be different.
Part of the mandates of the Peace Corps of Nigeria is to train and equip the youth with knowledge for peace education, conflict resolution, mediation, and confidence building.
Imana Mawe joins us now with business news.
You first. First Bank.
Hello and welcome to Business News. The organized private sector has described Nigeria's fourth quarter GDP growth of 1.51% as depressing and needing further necessary actions for improvement. Corporate executives who participated in the February edition of the Business Roundtable, jointly organized by Channels Television and the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, today asked government to step up actions in the area of economic recovery challenge. Channels business correspondent Tempo Ashaju reports.
The release of the 2016 GDP figure by the National Bureau of Statistics came on the day Channels Television and LCCI were hosting a joint roundtable on the state of the economy and business. On a quarterly basis, the real economy contracted from a negative of 2.24% to a negative of 1.30% in the fourth quarter, while it shrunk 1.51% for the entire 2016. For the real sector operators drawn from across various industries, this is not a surprise.
We were going to expect that the central bank would see a better position because we're actually seeing positives on the actual oil, and that itself in turning positive on the actual economy. So it wasn't a surprise.
The level of militancy within the same period was so high, and the production were affected. Even movement of products from one location in Nigeria to the other was also very, and most importantly is the forest.
Nigerians had been hopeful that the government would fulfill its promise to release the National Economic Recovery and Growth Plan in February. But since the launch is yet to take place, the disappointment becomes immeasurable.
That document they want to bring out, it ain't going to work if it does not include in the collaborative process, open and transparent, the joint venture between the organized private sector, the unorganized private sector, and the government.
A lot of factories are closing down every day, not because they want to close down. All these somersaulting policies has to stop.
In terms of positive growth, fiscal policy that would actually enable the industry to grow, that I think is key factor, because you see there's a mismatch when you're trying to put a policy together and you don't have a balanced monetary policy against your fiscal policy.
The recovery plan aims to stabilize the macroeconomy through sufficiency in food security and the energy sector, as well as drive industrialization with the optimization of the SMEs. But if leveraging the private sector will be needed to tackle these fundamentals, perhaps there's no better time than now. Temple Ashaju, Channels Television News.
Profit-taking, particularly from the consumer goods sector, pulled back the gains recorded earlier on Monday at the local stock market as equities end the last trading day negative. Analysts, however, expect an upbeat start for the month of March. BC Adebayo has details.
A slightly impressive full-year 2016 earnings results released by Dangote Cement, which is the largest company by market cap on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, was not enough to lift the market as profit-taking still dominated Tuesday's activity. The all-share index declined by 0.17% and the last trading day for the month of February at 25,329.08 with a market value of 8.76 trillion naira. Market breadth turned positive as 15 gainers outweighed 12 losers, and top on the gainers list were UACN, Okomo Oil and Vitafoam, while Forte Oil, Honeywell Flour and Transcore recorded the highest losses by percentage. Investors exchanged 444.5 million shares in transactions worth 3.64 billion naira in 3,336 deals. And that's it on the stock market reports. I am BC Adebayo.
And it's a negative close across board for leading African stock markets and a mixed outing for Asia today. European markets, however, end higher as investors await a speech on tax reforms from U.S. President Donald Trump. Let's take a look at the closing figures. That's business news tonight. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Imana Amawe. It's back to Amarachi.
Thanks, Imana. The Bank of Industry has not slowed down its aggressive plan to ensure that micro and medium enterprises across the country are adequately financed. But we'll be talking about that later. Still ahead on the news at 10, the latest from the world of sports. Former FIFA Executive Committee member Amos Adamu receives a second ban from football-related activities for unethical conduct. Please join us again.